The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. Now, we started off this week, the volume was very, very low, and we saw bulls try to push us. We saw the attempt from buyers, but we didn't get any follow through, and that's been the talking point of the day so far. Low volume coming into today, and sellers kind of taking control, specifically at the end of the day. Now, going into tomorrow, I think a few questions will be answered, but ultimately we have PCE this week and a few other data points that we need to be focused on. I don't know if we're done with the upside opportunity, but I will tell you what will be the signal for when sellers will step in, because it's very, very clear. Let's get to work. Okay, so what we're doing really quick is jumping right into where ES is and what's happening with the NASDAQ. So let's jump into the S&P first as we look here. Now, the volume today was terrible, like to say the least. So last night, you can kind of see what happened. Pre-market, we kind of just like an all night. Last night, we just trend sideways here into this morning where we slowly push out of this, ultimately pushing up into one of our levels and rejecting back down. Okay, very important to understand that. And if you're looking at volume, you can see atrocious, terrible. I think average volume has been like 74 million. We came in at 44 million. Also, too, when we look at the data there, this is from Edgepool. The link for them is down below. You can see Monday is typically our lowest volume, and we stay pretty much in our range. So we usually don't get breakouts to either side of the trade or the range, right? We go back to the dashboard, look here. About 66% of the time, SPY trades within its ATR, which is around $4, I believe, right now. So again, when we go back into ES and we look what's happening, you're breaking down slowly. But what I will say, overall targets here, just giving you my viewpoint. I called this out too in Discord earlier, so they had this ready, locked, and loaded, right? We're looking at futures, right? Breaking those lows from last night, retesting, and pushing back down. So what are we looking for right here? We broke those lows. We did get a little bit of push back into VWAP, but then we came right back down. Again, what are we targeting as well? Right here, our previous all-time high, okay? This is February 12th. Very important to understand that. It's our previous all-time high there. That's where I believe we're going to be working our way towards right now. So again, that break, retest, and continuation back to this level, right? Now in NASDAQ, NQ, things get a little bit more interesting. NQ's holding up here. Now again, if you follow my previous videos, everything like that, you've seen that NQ has been kind of lagging, in my opinion, what's happening specifically with ES and the Dow. Okay, so when we get in here, things get a little bit interesting, right? So we can see that we formed a little supply level there at highs, which is your all-time high there, or not your all-time high. Yeah, that is your all-time high right there. And so you're pushing back down now. But this is that same level we mentioned there on ES from last night, where you were holding that support, creating a little bit of a demand down here, but you're holding above it. SPY is already breaking back down towards the downside there. So very interesting. But what I will say is, obviously, SPY is way up here, or ES, whatever you want to consider it, right? ES is operating at these high levels up here. Very important to be able to acknowledge this, right? So ES is like up here, and now it's trying to come back and retest here. NQ is lagging back here. So NQ, in my opinion, is going to be your sign of strength here and what to be looking for. So what you're going to be looking for right now is obviously ES to test that level, but also too, we want to make sure NQ can hold this level here, because this is going to be one of the signals here. If the NASDAQ can hold above this and not get back below 1792, last night's lows, then I believe you're still very strong on the market and you're still looking for tech and bulls to step back in. But if NASDAQ breaks down underneath this, then I think ES is going to get more weakness as well going into Dow. And I don't cover Dow that much, but you have to cover with what it's been doing. Dow, very similar. All you're looking for is a retest of previous highs right there. Again, down to 39K flat. That's all you're looking for. You've established a demand here as well. It wouldn't surprise me if Dow doesn't even test that. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just telling you that right now. It would not surprise me because it's just been so strong, but I'm still looking out for this and ES so you can see those levels clearly. That's where we're going to right now. That's what I would like to see. Okay, ES would be a buy at 50.66, and then you watch the reaction. NASDAQ, you just want to see if it can hold this. As long as it holds this, you're fine. You can obviously see here to the end of the day, it held up very well. SPY, Qs as well. SPY coming back down to previous highs. Qs, not even at highs yet. Again, you can see what's happening here, kind of breaking the higher low structure, but still what we're looking for, you have a support down there at 435 as well, not far off. So right now, that's what I'm looking at there. We're going to go into DXY and what's happening with yields, but looking at something like Bitcoin, IWM, very, very big risk on indicators right now. What's happening? Bitcoin ran to 55K today. The DXY dropping, yields dropping. These are big risk on indicators. IWM holding above 200. These are things that you want to see. Now, I think IWM, you want to break like 203 because you've been here before just to get strong confirmation at mid caps. But overall, you like what you see. I really do here. So again, as we're looking at the market, that's what I'm viewing, that's what I'm looking at, and that's kind of what I'm attacking here. So we're going to jump back into that, but pay close attention. Okay, so first up, the dollar. So when I go into the dollar, so you can see here on the higher time frames, which is where you should chart most of your things here. Again, we had the inverse head and shoulders. You played out, you worked up, you couldn't ever get the breakout. The dollar is just breaking back down to our range below our key level, and now you're just sitting at the 200 SMA on the daily. You would like to see the dollar break below. That's what you want to see, a break, retest, and continuation to the downside. Now, the US 30-year yield, we saw the dollar break down, but the yields hadn't broken down yet. You get into here, and look what's happening. Yields breaking back below previous 2022 highs. Very big level there. Last time what happened? You broke above this, you came back down, you broke above it again, and that's what signaled a really big drop back in September and October, all the way basically through, what happened into like early November, give or take. That was a really big indicator there, right? And when that topped out, that's when the market started bouncing. So what we're looking for is continuation, getting back below 200 and hopefully getting back below 4.2. And then the end goal by the time we cut rates is below 4%. That's what you're looking at there. There's no need to overcomplicate this. These are your levels. It's very simple, very clear. And you don't want to use smaller time frames for this, only higher time frames. Now, those other indicators and things we're talking about, IWM, very impressive, very bullish in my opinion, holding above 200. Now, you can see you're still not out of the trenches. You can still see your giant rectangle you've traded in for 2 years, right? Right there. You need to get above 205 to get confirmation, just to give you the idea there. But that's where you're at right now. Bitcoin, again, going berserk, 54K, right? Everyone's like, oh, you're dipping, right? You basically consolidated at highs. And this is one of the really big parts of this too. So everyone freaks out when we start, pulling back or things like this. And take this into consideration for NASDAQ here. You just consolidated at highs. That's all you did. We go into NASDAQ, right? As we look at NASDAQ, look what's happening. Okay, go to the 2-hour chart. Are you really that bearish yet? Can you really get that bearish on what's happening here? Or are we just consolidating damn near highs, right? Very similar action. Now, I'm not saying you're going to pull Bitcoin and go crazy here on NQ, but I'm just telling you, look at it for what it is and don't be biased. That's the really important part of what we're looking at here. Now, the other thing I'll go into is this week. Now, this is investing.com. This is all 100% free. You can go check it out for yourself. Use the calendar on your phone is really helpful. I'll let you know that right now. Okay, the only things that I really see this week are going to be PCE, which is going to be Thursday. I'm pretty positive. Consumer confidence, a little bit tomorrow. Some Fed speakers here and there, nothing huge. GDP is Wednesday. Definitely going to be looking out for that. And then you obviously have some Fed members talking here. GDP will be very important for how they talk. No reason to talk about that right now. And then core PC on Thursday. That's your biggest data pull, what you have to be watching going into this week, and that will dictate the market movement. You can also, if you start seeing selling, because you have to anticipate PCE is not going to be great because CPI and PPI were pretty terrible also. So that's what I'm really paying attention to this week is coming into Thursday. I think GDP is going to be good, but PCE could be pretty terrible, not gonna lie. So I'm definitely paying close attention to that. Now, the few other things I'm gonna look at are some equities and how I'm attacking those. Today, I'm not gonna lie, not a lot of action. But what I will say is Nancy Pelosi, just to give you a heads up, if you followed me on Twitter and you saw it, Nancy Pelosi bought into PanW. She bought into it prior to its earnings when it dropped. And then she basically kind of like added like half of her position again to average in at the lows near the 200 SMA. Okay, so it's worth mentioning she has calls on PanW. Okay. Now, when we go to other equities, I'm giving you my opinion on what we're looking at. It's also important that you're looking at the way I'm charting equities based on how I'm charting the NASDAQ, meaning if the NASDAQ bounces, then I'm going to look for the long side. If the NASDAQ loses these levels, then I'm looking at what? The short side. So again, that's how I look at the trades. It's all based on what happens from the NASDAQ and indexes, and then I move on from there, unless it's a just stock buy or an investment buy like that. So keep that in the back of your mind. Let's get to it. So first up, we're going to go over a few names that we're just looking at with the Mag 7, things along those lines. All you're looking at here really quick on Apple, for instance, right? Okay, Apple, you came into our key level of basically 185. You rejected double top, fell back down. You're below 200 SMA. You can't trade this. If you want to trade Apple to the downside, you got to break and retest 180, and then you can go down to 176. But until then, you can't do nothing. Tesla, it's been the same trade for I don't know how long. I post this on Twitter as well, so if you're not following, I recommend you do so. Again, go to Twitter, post this literally February 24th for you guys. Watch for the break, retest, and continuation. Now, again, you ended up breaking here. You can go to the 5-minute, whatever you want to look at here. You can see you broke, retested, you pushed into 202, 201. Congratulations there on Tesla. That's what you're looking at right now. now. Until then, you can't trade anymore here on Tesla until you break back above 206. Then we can talk. But right here, it's a no trade. Maybe you can retest and get an entry off of 197. But I'm not going to be getting crazy at all on Tesla. I'm just kind of sitting on my hands here, waiting to see how we progress from this. Microsoft, you didn't get too many opportunities today. But what we did say is you break back below some of these lows, things like that, then you're targeting back into 407. And so you came back into 407, but nothing really crazy going on. If you get below 407, I'm looking for 403, 404 to give you a heads up there. Above 407, looking back into 410 and then 415 or 413, 415 to be exact there. Above 415, all-time highs got to be on your list. Netflix, what we're looking at here, we go to like the 15-minute chart. Again, above 576, you're targeting 590 on repeat. If you get above 593, you're targeting back above 600. In between 590 and 593, you can do nothing, but you can see you're getting rejecting continually there. But you are making higher lows and making new demands down here as well. Very important and worth mentioning. Also, too, if you're interested in what our indicators are and how to get them, the link is down below. It's from Lux Algo. You get like a 20% discount if you use our code, just to give you a heads up. But yeah. Also, too, going into AMD, one of our favorite plays ever here, we continue to say if you mount above 174.7, it's a long 1, 2, 3. 3 opportunities on the day to go long, or this is actually on Friday, sorry. So you want long, you had opportunities and trades there. You went long today off of 174.7. You're going all the way back into 177, possibly 178. But again, that's your trade there. Below this, you're targeting 171, then like 170 overall, maybe even 164 if you get really bearish there, but I'm not interested in that. PanW, we had a quick scalp on the day with the ascending triangle and how that played out. But you saw as the market pulled back and kind of just chopped and consolidated, we had a 1, 2, 3 correction to the downside. Now, I still like PanW. I still think it's probably going to get continuation as long as the rest of the market does get some love and continuation there. One level that I will be watching, though, is a level around 297 and then the cycle level of 300. So I'll be really curious to see how we react around these levels, and we'll be watching. I do think PanW has room at a 318 and then 333. That's my personal opinion there. Now, I don't go into mid caps a lot, but I do like Robinhood. I keep talking about it. Fundamentally, technically, it looks fantastic. These are plays you should be looking for. You can see you traded in a range 1, 2, and then you broke out of this range, and now you're pushing back up. Now, I think Robinhood has room at $20, but honestly, you could go even higher into $36, $40 really easily. It's heavily shorted. They have a lot of cash on hand. They're not going anywhere. But yeah, keep them on your watch list. That's 100%. You got to keep it on your watch list. Crazy name right now. NVIDIA, I like what they're doing, but again, NVIDIA, if you want to go long, you have to get above 804. If you cannot get above 804, it is not a long for me. Okay, so while you're making, rejected 802, you couldn't get quite to 804. You actually gapped up to 804 this morning and rejected. You have a little bit of a demand down here for 788. That's good. But ultimately, I want to see a break and hold above 804 to go long. That's just me, what I'd be looking at. AVGO still looks good. We mentioned over the weekend, you're just consolidating at highs. You look really good. When NASDAQ goes, I believe AVGO is going to make a crazy push once again. 1350, possibly even 1400. Keep those at the top of your list as well. The only other small cap, mid cap I'll mention is BABA. I continue to say it. If you want to get risky, especially with Chinese names, BABA is the name to go to. You have your inverse head and shoulders kind of playing out here. You can see how it's playing out. You're trying to break above that neckline. Again, you have targets into the 200 SMA at 83. Above 200 SMA at 83, I think you could start working into 86, 88, and then possibly even towards $100. They're pumping money into their economy, and this Chinese stock market, they need it to go up. So again, I like to bet on when countries are betting on themselves. So worth mentioning, worth looking at. That's all I got for today. If you have any questions, comment down below. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one, traders.